Please join me with a raucous welcome, Mr. Idy Enang, to deliver the keynote address.
When you hear the word SOAR, it depends on what stage in your life you are in. Are you with me? Because at my stage, I'm still soaring. But when at this stage, it's about exhilaration, you're having fun. Fun doing what you love doing. At your stage, you need to take off. So SOAR means so many things to many people. It's a function of where you are in your life's journey. It has nothing to do with age. It has nothing to do with gender. It has to do with a human. And it has to do with the things that you have to tackle. So join me as we go on this intellectual pathway. So this is the topic, elevating youth to new heights. There's room for you to move in your career, business, and every aspiration you desire. That's the essence of the word SOAR. Let's take the basic definition according to Merriam-Webster. To soar means to ascend to a higher or more exalted level. Who wants to move to the next level? All right, everybody does. I tell people that, listen, the word stature, I love it. You know why? I'll tell you this. When you come to me and ask me, Idy, who are you? I'll always give you two parts to me. My private and my public self. When you see a man or woman come outside to make so much noise, that person is a statue. Because if you are responsible, you understand that you own nothing, that you're just a mere steward. I love the rise to majestic stature. I am still aspiring to get there. It's that level of elevation and attainment of great heights in career. So sports has been the way for me to drive what I'm about to tell you. But basketball specifically, and any ball game. But let me use basketball. The man who holds the ball is a man that God has given grace to. Listen, holding a ball can mean your talent, can mean your skill, can mean your ability. And until you release it, that ball will never profit you. And so a lot of people are handling balls, they're holding them, is because they don't understand. And they can't soar. The minute you also then try out of everything and say, no, give me another ball, you've just complicated your life. And many of the young people today think they can multitask. They do a lot of things all at the same time. There's something behind the story called sequence. Things don't happen at the same time. I want to be like Mr. Idy and you carry two balls. You've just created complexity. Number one, you won't bounce right. Number two, you won't release right. And number three, you won't have the footwork. All of this comes under a very simple analogy and message I want to leave with you. And I call it the 3 Gs. What are these 3 Gs? Grace, guts, and grit. When you want to talk about how to soar, without these 3 Gs as a major component, whatever level you get to in life, you're going to struggle. The first one is given to everybody. If I ask most of the people, what does grace mean? They'll tell me unmerited favor. Yes, correct. Grace has several dimensions to it, several meanings. But one that I want you to understand that stands well, it is a virtue coming from God. Whether you like it or not, the basest human being has grace. Grace is the first level that's given to everyone. But what is that grace? Many of us don't even understand it. That's why I chose the word virtue. Because virtue is a beneficial quality or power of a thing. You're smart, you are tech savvy, it's grace. JJ Okocha can do all kinds with the ball. It's grace. It's a beneficial quality. Just like the ball you are holding. If you don't release it, if you don't do anything with it, it stays with you and it dies. So grace also has a place. When there is grace that you take for granted, a lot of young people today, Because you're so skillful, you take it for granted. You insult your elders. You don't know that insult has salt in it. Salt is a preservative. When you insult your elders, all in the name of whatever, you will be peppered. There's something that is given to everyone, but there are levels of grace. And each one is a function of what you do with it. So there's grace, there's great grace, there's abundant grace, there is exceeding abundant grace. How do I saddle and straddle myself? I'm a coach, executive coach. I have people executives that I coach. I run a social enterprise, corporate shepherds. Week in, week out, navigate with Idy. I run with a theme and different topics 3 times a week on radio across about 10 stations and without fail. How? Because people will pen you down and label you, and you will allow them disgrace you because you don't know you have a virtue. Never sit where people are saying things. Sit where they hold things. Because there's a man that is holding that can release. What is that thing in your hand? What is that beneficial quality that you have? When I talk about 3 Gs, I'm telling you that you must recognize and embrace God's grace in your life. You cannot overtake boy to man. There's something called process, and you can't abuse it, but you must trust the process. So to SOAR carries a lot of self-responsibility, but the major one is identifying what? Who am I? Why was I born into this family? Grace. That's the first G. The next one, guts. This you need in a very large dose. It's called courage. It's called resilience. It's called determination. But if you want your head to be above the water, you must be 10 times wiser and brighter. Your grace must shoot out. Then they will pick you. Nobody rejects something that will benefit him. There will come a time you need to fight. Fighting is part of speaking up. Fighting is be able to have the courage to say, no, this is wrong, and I'll stand by it. Resilience is when you're going through the pathway that is tough. You say, no, the only way is through. If you don't go through, you can't come on the other side. But you must step out of your comfort zones. Many of us get comfortable. What is stealing your time? That's your comfort zone. And then you now start seeing failures come. You wonder why. But if you are not in that space, you must then learn to take opportunities. Opportunities like this will make you better. They will shape you. They'll put you on a pedestal when your heart, your mind is open, and you're ready, but you need guts. Guts. They'll tell you because you're a woman, you can't step in. Listen, there's occupational hazard everywhere. There's risk to everybody. It's not only the female gender. You need the guts. You need resilience because you can't soar if those things happen to you. The last G is grit. Your passion, your persistence, and tenacity. I love grit because when you get to the boardroom, and this is what I'm telling you, you're at this level now, when you get to board level, these 3 Gs will play out. Because you will sit down and there are decisions you need to make. And you're sitting and looking at board members, and there's been meeting before meeting, and there's going to be a vote on a matter. What do you do the day before? How do you manage it? You need grit. But you need guts, the courage to be able to stand when you get into that board meeting and say, guys, even if everybody's going here, I'm staying here. At the end, I will walk away with my heart and my hands saying, I did not bastardize his heart, but it takes something else. Here in grit is about cultivating a mindset, staying focused on your goals, and working tirelessly towards that achievement. But you must have a goal. If you get to the bus stop and you enter any bus, it will take you to where the bus is going. Many of you are just in transporters' business that have no business with your business. It's because you don't have a goal. When you set it knowing where you are, knowing what you're doing, unlock it and get there. But then, note that there must be setbacks. Speed breakers are good. They help you manage that speed. But then, that's why you need someone. Now, abuse coming, substance, that's a setback. And until you come to yourself, nothing will happen. I'm going to close all of this by saying the intersection of these 3 Gs will get you to a place that makes it extremely possible. I want you to watch this clip. It's about 2 minutes long. And I'll tell you, you'll see the moral of the entire story. That you can't give up on your country. You can't give up on your track. You can't give up on this race. You can't give up on the journey that you are taking on. Why? Because there's always a pleasant surprise that you don't see. It's the unseen that drives the scene. And that's the God factor. That's the big G that surrounds all the G's. If you don't have it, you need it. If you don't know it, you better do. And if you do and you take it for granted, then you are going through some oscillations.
Away cleanly. But this massive stag up will be difficult to tell who's going well. But obviously at the moment it is Solomon, the United States, that's running well. Just on the outside also, Nicomo, France running well. And on the inside in lane 3, Jamaica also putting an effort in. Henry Robertson running well. But it's the United States now with Solomon. Coming into this change-up, it's the United States in the lead.
And for the United States, Kimberly Duncan taking the baton now, and she's our runners outside are just pulling up, but it's United States. Germany, of course, have run well right on the outside, and on the middle lanes we've got Jamaica and Nigeria, but this is the United States of America who are going to take a big lead after 2 laps. Then the battle on in lanes 3 and 4.
United States look as though they are away. This is Geneva Tamo on the 3rd leg, and the lead is a big one for Nigeria in pursuit. Regina George, but the United States are flying down that back straight, and the final leg for the United States is going to be run by the great Alison Felix. Terrific support for the Bahamians, who are making up some ground, but the United States hand over in front.
Oh, now there's a calamitous changeover. The USA crashing out. The lead counts for nothing, and Nigeria storming around the bend with nobody close to them. Bahamas are making a terrific run. For the Bahamas, closing in is Shawnee Miller. Is she going to be able to close the gap? Out in front is Christy Udo. Shawnee Miller running hard all the way through to the line. Nigeria first, Bahamas second, Jamaica third. And we mentioned the fact that the relay changeovers could well be precarious. But the USA have practically gifted Nigeria 2-lap relay gold in this women's final. They are absolutely distraught. Because
Many of you may not relate with that. It happened in 2015, Bahamas. And you would notice what has happened in the current Olympics. Same thing. Why? There was one great Alison Felix. The commentators knew only of America. And there's this stray country called Nigeria and Bahamas. They didn't know the name. Nameless. Just like you and I. There's a time when you are nameless, when you start this journey. But when you start soaring, the less goes away and more comes. Because less is more. If you don't understand the less is more technology, I'll show you in a real context. What you've seen, that race, there are people you are looking up to now who seem to be ahead of you. They're doing so well, but they get to some place, that exchange that I said to you, something must be in your hand that you need to release it. If you don't do it at the opportune time, the right frequency, and the right process, you will fail. Not that you will not be able to rise again, but by the time you're rising up, the next man gets it. And that's what happened. And Nigeria, that had no hope, became the biggest hope because that team won the gold. That's exactly what has happened to our basketball team. No other African country, female, ever got into the quarterfinals. They lost the first match. But know what? Those girls are built. They have grace. If you watch them, you will see a lot of guts. And more importantly, the grit. But there are individual cases. Individuality, there's a place for individuality, there's a place for team. We need a support system to make us soar. But As an individual, sometimes you need to go the journey alone. And that's what racing teaches you. That you race and you take the sport, you have to push yourself to cycle faster, but you need to be smarter to get through the finish line. All I'm saying to you is that the emphasis is on the personal achievement, doing whatever it takes to emerge victorious no matter the obstacles. Don't let anything pull you down, because the eagle must soar. Have you ever seen how the eagle comes in and picks up a fish in the water? How? Everybody's endangered. But you must understand that your best days are ahead. So I'm leaving you with a challenge today. That challenge is for you to embrace your grace. Don't go on the pathway where you get disgraced. Develop guts and cultivate grit. You must have the attitude of a farmer. It starts with the seed and the fruit. The harvest will come. It may not be now, but keep sowing. Keep sowing. Keep sowing. Grit will come. When you get there, somebody will tell you you are there. But that doesn't mean you have arrived, because life is in transition. There's a transition in everything. You are single, you get married, transition. You are in Form 1, you get to Form 2, transition. You finish university and you need to get a job, transition. We are consistently transitioning. Parents transition from being parents to grandparents and great-grandparents. Each one has his own challenge. But it takes grace, it takes guts, and it takes grit. Friends, you have the potential to soar to greater heights beyond your imagination. But believe in yourself, stay focused. Focus on your focus, not another man's focus, and work tirelessly for it. And remember, SOAR is not just a theme today, it's a movement. Join the movement today and truly unleash your potential.